about God, the God of love.
He that comes to me.
You believe in God?
I don't believe in God.
Okay.
Should I?
Why not?
He's obviously conditionally loving, right? He's not an all-loving God, right?
What do you believe in?
Today we invite you.
You an atheist?
Yes. Yeah, me too.
Do you believe that nothing created everything?
I don't know where the universe came from.
You don't know.
No.
So what makes you so sure of what you believe in then if you don't know? So basically your religion of atheism is built upon facts where we don't even really know whether or not it's true. Is that
what
right?
facts is it built on?
The
universe came from nothing. You're saying
it's built on no. What?
I don't understand the point.
You said that you don't know where what they created everything. So what I'm saying to you is, why are you following something where you don't truly know what you're following?
Well, we don't know the answer to every mystery.
Don't you?
No.
I do. It's in the Bible.
Really?
If you open the Bible, this here is the only book.
That answers every mystery.
This is the only book. What
let me
predicts
ask you a
the
question.
future.
Let me ask you a question. What is dark matter?
What is dark matter?
Yeah.
Sin.
Okay. Why does dark matter only have a gravitational interaction, but not an interaction through light?
Well, you're asking me big scientific words.
But you're saying the answer to every mystery is in this book.
Certainly is, sir.
So
tell me this, Ryan.
Tell me this, Ryan.
Tell me this, Ryan. Do you believe in a Big Bang theory?
Yes.
Right. So do you believe that something created a big explosion and it created all of us?
When you say something created a big explosion, I'm not sure that's exactly what the Big Bang Theory says.
Okay, so what is...
Depends what you mean by those phrases.
Swap over?
When you are ready.
Okay.
Did you talk with him?
Yeah.
What did you discuss?
Well, he was trying to ask me whether I believed in the Big Bang.
Okay.
And I don't know what point he was going to make with that.
Okay.
Maybe you want to follow up.
Well, we really believe in the creation of the Bible, that God created heaven and earth, and we don't believe in evolution because in my own experience, I find that the Word of God did so much describe my life accurately that I could really trust that the message of the Bible is true. What I mean, for example, it says in Mark chapter 7, when Jesus spoke about the origin of evil in man, he said, out of the heart of man proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, envy, lust, pride. All these things, Jesus said, come out of the heart of man. That was my experience. That was my life.
Okay.
But
there are evils that are not from the hearts of men, right?
Well,
I mean, there are tornadoes, tsunamis, mass extinctions. That's not through men, is it?
Of course, in that sense.
So that's not true then, is it?
In that sense, when it comes, to the individual, I look at it in the context Jesus spoke these words describing man's heart condition. I could see that what Jesus said, I can actually
hang on. Let's just try and get some claims down. You said you don't believe in evolution.
I don't believe in evolution.
How do you know what the evidence is for evolution? Have you looked into it?
Well, I have in the past heard arguments about evolution, but I basically understood. For me, it's like this. It has never been proved. I mean,
well, what do you mean by proved?
Well, if you can create an animated being out of an unanimated material, that would be a proof.
No, that wouldn't, because that's not what evolution is about. So it seems like you've criticised the theory, but you haven't even understood what the theory says. What the theory of evolution says, at least in a biological context, the way that phrase is normally used, is about descent with modification. So that animals today come from ancestors in the past that were different to what they are. So, for example, humans and chimps share a common ancestor that was neither human nor chimp. Similarly, you can look at whales and hippos. Whales and hippos we think are related, and they share a common ancestor which was neither whale nor hippo. That's what evolution is about. It's about descent with modification, creating new organisms that didn't look like their ancestors. Okay? It's not about creating a being from a non-being. So it seems to me that you're criticizing a theory without really understanding what the theory says.
Well, I basically understood, at least this is how it often has come addressed. No, what often has happened to me, that people who claim evolution as the origin of life, often they would...
No one is claiming evolution is the origin of life.
Well,
because evolution is about how life changes. The question of life's origin is a separate topic. It's not a topic about evolution, or at least the way we normally understand the term evolution. Okay? So evolution, the way we normally use the term in these sorts of debates, is about how life changes. It's about the origin of species from previous species that were not like them. But it's not about the origin of life. That's a separate topic which is called abiogenesis. Okay? So wherever your views are about the ultimate origin of life, they're separate from the view of how species originate. Okay? So they're just totally different topics. Okay. Not that the origin of life is not an interesting topic, but it's not the same topic, right? So we think that species arise through process of evolution, which, when I say evolution here, I mean descent with modification. Okay? And the evidence for that is overwhelming. There's so much evidence for that. Let me give you an example. Okay? We look at the evolution of whales. When we look at the fossil record, what we find is that the whale species gradually, like if you look at a hippopotamus, the nose is here. If you look at a whale's, the nose is at the top. So if whales evolved from a common ancestor with hippos, what we should find is that we look back at older fossils, the position of the nose will be changing. Yeah? So the more we go into the past, the more that nasal cavity will be moving. Yeah? That's exactly what we find. Okay? Not only that, we can work out where we'll find them, because we think we know where whales evolved. There was an ancient sea called the Tethys Sea, and there are certain areas where those sediments are exposed and we can find bones there. Yeah? So we look there and indeed we find those bones. Yeah? We can look at other things, we can look at the genes. Multiple lines of evidence all point in the same conclusion, that they gradually evolved. They weren't created like that. So if you're going to criticize a theory, it would be useful to study the theory and see why you think it's wrong. I think it's not reasonable to criticize a theory if you haven't understood what the theory says.
Okay.
Same with the Big Bang. We have multiple lines of evidence for the Big Bang. Right? It's not one line of evidence, it's multiple independent ones. And the evidence is overwhelming, all from different branches of inquiry. So, for example, Big Bang Theory predicts certain abundance of light elements. When we measure those abundances, it comes back exactly what the theory predicts. It also predicts that there'll be a leftover afterglow, cold radiation that's been stretched by the expansion of space and will be in the very long wavelengths. And that's what we find. It also says that when we look at that radiation, it will have a certain thermal property. It's called a black body. When we look at that radiation, it has precisely that property. So the reasonable thing then is to believe these theories, because the predictions of the theories are matched by the data.
Well, I mean, that leaves me maybe with the final question I could ask you.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Right. That would be the logic of your.
Well, you can also say that many Christians believe in evolution as well, don't they? And it's not incompatible with their faith, is it?
Well, it depends. I think there is a problem with believing in evolution and believing in Christianity. The problem is that evolution is a very cruel method of getting to humans. It involves a lot of suffering. So if God chose that, it's very hard to believe that God is all good. Because if that was his method of getting to us, then how can he be all good?